Hello out there, guys and girls. You are back at Calgary Barbell for another Foam Check Friday. We're gonna get right into it. Starting off today, we have a video from Braden. Now Braden submitted, we had Braden's submission for last week, I believe, but what happened was it was a set of 10 or 15 or something silly like that. So we actually weren't able to get a good assessment of his technique because there's too many reps and the weight was too light. So what we've got here is we've got a single that Braden did at 170 kilos. What we see in Braden's video, honestly, everything looks really good. There isn't gonna be a whole lot that I will critique here. The one thing that I might recommend is trying to play with your bar position a little bit. I would honestly probably like to see the bar a tiny little bit higher up your back. As you can see, just out of the very bottom, we're getting a little bit of loss of that upper back extension. And I think it's partly because the bar is a little bit too far down your back and you're not able to maintain that position with your shoulders. So what happens is the bar kind of rolls up your back or sort of pushes you forward and out of position because we're in a position that we're not able to maintain. So what I want you to do is try to move that bar up your back just a tiny little bit and see if that helps. Next up, we have a video from Marcel. He's from Australia, which is awesome. I love seeing people from all over the globe sending in these videos. He's got a squat here. His buddy lines up, give him some ass slaps as opposed to trap slaps, which I think is also very encouraging. I'm glad that you have that kind of support, Marcel. Now let's see what happens here. Honestly, again, mostly really good. The one thing that I do notice, however, is that especially on the second rep, we're getting a little bit of knee cave. The hips are kind of shooting up back a little bit. So not necessarily a huge thing that you can correct just by thinking about it, but what I want you to do is maybe work on doing some squats with a band around your knees to help keep the knees or the hips externally rotated. The other thing I would try is as you drive out of the bottom, make sure to keep your knees forward over your toes and not let things shoot back. So not let your knees come back behind your toes as you change directions in the bottom, which is gonna cause your butt to shoot up and kind of, we're seeing a little bit of that action going on. So practice some stuff with a band around your knees, keep external rotation. Make sure you're keeping your knees forward over your toes as you come out of the hole to keep your quads engaged, keep yourself upright. That in itself can fix it sometimes. And the third and final thing that I want you to do is I want you to try and practice either with a front squat, with a safety bar squat, or with a high bar squat. I want you to do some pause squats of one of those three variations, and I want you to program that as a secondary movement. That's something I've found that works really, really well with a lot of my lifters who have similar issues because it forces you to really fight for that upright position, and sometimes that can fix the issue too. Hopefully that helps Marcel. He also submitted a bench video. I just wanted to say your bench looks good, Marcel. I don't have any issue with it at all. And that leads me to another point that I want to touch on sort of as a general theme through these videos. A lot of time we're getting people sending in videos and things just look good. So if I send you an email or I gloss over your video in our video and say it looks good, that's great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, the biggest thing that you need is practice. I think there's a point of diminishing returns when you talk about making technical tweaks. So if you get to the point where you're tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, you don't spend as much time just getting strong. So sometimes you just need to push and just need to get strong. Your movements need to be adequate. Sometimes they can be more efficient, but if they're adequate, at least you can continue to get strong and not get hurt. Two biggest criteria. If you're wondering if your technique is off, ask yourself two questions. Are you getting stronger? And are you getting injured? If the answer is yes, you're getting stronger and you're not getting injured, your technique is probably pretty much okay. Anyways, that ends my short little rant there. So we got a video here from Exco Kigs. Now, Exco is doing some squats here as well. And honestly, things look really, really good for the most part. One thing that I think you could change a little bit is I want you to try and cut your depth a little higher, honestly. I think you could maintain better control of your bottom position. You can have better alignment as you come back up out of the hole if you cut your depth maybe half an inch to an inch higher. You're definitely well below parallel there, but I would like to see a tiny bit tighter in the hole. It looks like you're kind of bottoming out, loosening up in the bottom. So I would work on maybe not necessarily cutting depth, but getting a little bit tighter in that bottom position, which often results in a little bit less depth. In this case, I think you can sacrifice that. I think you can make that trade very easily. So I want you to try that out. Now we're gonna get on to Max Pogue. So Max is doing a set of 8 with 200 pounds here. A couple of things I'm going to kind of reiterate from previous videos this episode. There's two things I want you to work on, Max. Now throughout these, first off, the first rep looks like you get on your toes a little bit, so let's try and stay mid-foot or a little further back on the heels. The second thing I want you to try and do is actually get a little bit more depth. I'm not sure if you're working with a flat foot or a flat shoe or a heeled shoe, but maybe if you're in a flat shoe, try a heeled shoe. I'd like to see you try and get a little bit deeper. It's hard to tell just from the side angle here. So let's take a look. I think you sent a front angle in. The other thing I think that might help, Max, is I would widen your stance a tiny bit. I think that because your femurs are so long, it's causing you to have to bend over a bunch, and then you're losing position in the bottom. So I would try to widen your stance out a little bit and try to sit a little more straight down, stay a little bit more upright. The last and final thing is I want you to try and move that bar position up just a tiny bit as well. It looks like we're getting some bar roll. It looks like we're maybe not able to maintain the position we have the bar in, so we want to make that bar position a little bit easier to hold, and in a lot of cases that's going to be finding a bit of a better shelf. And I find with a lot of low bar squatters, they're trying to go too low, and that sacrifices a lot of things in the upper back, and we're starting to lose tightness, we're starting to lose bar position. So move that bar up, make sure it's on the shelf of your delts, and it should move a little bit less. We should get pitched forward a little bit less. Hopefully all that stuff helps. Next up, we got another squat. This one is from Vapor Shizzles, or Welly Lou. So Welly's got a meet coming up, wants to know if he's hitting depth. So you think he's got about 465 on the bar. And are we hitting depth? Yeah, I'd call that depth. He's looks like he's a pretty big guy, maybe like 120 or so, somewhere around there. So one thing I might try to do, it's hard to tell how wide you are right now, but I might widen it up just to try and limit how, again, like sort of let yourself drop in between your ankles a little bit better. Depth is good. The last thing I'm going to mention, Welly, is as you hit the hole, you're getting a little bit loose. Everything's kind of rocking forward in the bottom. I'd like you to try and limit that. So let's try and tighten up that bottom position a little bit. And let's try and make sure that when we sit straight down, the knees are coming forward to a point, and then the last little bit is just in the hips, not rocking forward, because that's going to mask your depth a little bit too. A lot of times when people get into that bottom position, if everything shifts forward at the same time as instead of shifting down, that's going to make your depth look less depthful than it is. Next up, we got a video from Luke Heine. It is a squat. Wow, there's a lot of squats today. So this was a test day for Luke. So honestly, it's gonna be kind of hard to tell your general tendencies from this. But one thing is that it looks a little bit misgrooved. It looks like you kind of did what I was telling Welly not to do, like rocked forward at the bottom, got a little bit out of position because of that. The biggest thing is just that misgroove there and rocking forward. So again, I would try to stay back a little bit more, try to stay a little bit tighter in the hole, and try to loosen up a little bit less as you hit the very bottom position, because that's what's causing that exaggerated sticking point. If you watch through, you can see as he comes out of the hole here, Luke has a very exaggerated sticking point where everything slows down. He's got to reorganize himself, get tight, and then drive through the rest of the movement. Now, if we're tighter into the bottom position, we're going to see a little bit less of that sticking point, but honestly, overall, really good squat, Luke. Next up, we have a bench video from Wilson. Now, there's a couple things here, Wilson. So it looks like we're getting a little bit misgrooved, maybe touching a little bit low. The shoulders are moving around, so we're not staying tight in terms of where we're setting the shoulders. They're not staying there. You're coming down to the chest and the shoulders are shrugging up as you get to your chest with the bar. You're quite loose, and we're also touch and going the reps. So we're skipping essentially the most challenging portion of the repetition of each range of motion, which is from here to here, right? For all guys, we're all gonna get stuck between the chest and like 2 board height. So what I want you to do is I want you to start working with some pause benches, and I want you to start doing some tempo work on your bench, so we're slowing it down all the way to the chest. When we skip that bottom position and kind of use that little bit of bounce off the chest, you're gonna have a really hard time in a powerlifting meet when you have to pause that on your chest. So let's make sure that you're coming to the chest in control and pressing back up. Make sure you're keeping your shoulder blades retracted, so drawn backwards towards your spine, the whole movement, and not letting them move around as you initiate your press off the chest. Last one here, we got a video from Jacob. He's a fairly novice lifter. He says he's started lifting in February of 2016. That's about a year ago now. Having problems with his deadlifts. Looks like his hips are shooting up, and he's having to finish the lift with his low back, which is causing pain after his deadlifts. So we got a video here. Now it looks like Jacob, pretty thick guy. So one of the things I would try to do, Jacob, is I would try to widen things up a little bit. So I'm gonna get you to widen your grip, and widen your stance a tiny bit. Maybe not even your stance. Let's just widen your grip to start. A couple things at a time. Let's widen your grip so we can externally rotate your hips and get your knees out a little bit. And that's gonna allow you to extend your back. So allow you to go from here to here. Now, if your back's extended and locked into the right position, when you get to the end range of movement, it's gonna be your hips extending and not your back. Because if you get to here, your hips lock, and then you have to push your back through, that's probably what's causing your back pain. In terms of the hips shooting up, I think that external rotation and better setup is gonna help. We're probably gonna need to dial the weights back in order to harness the capabilities of a new technique. So that's one thing to be cognizant of as well. And finally, I would probably play with some pause deadlifts once you have your technique sort of refined. So that can be one thing that can really help you reinforce good technique. If you do pause deadlift properly, you're gonna push to start, and then you're gonna push to start again. A lot of times, people or with the same sort of tendencies as you will push to start the first part of the pause deadlift, but then when they initiate out of the pause, what'll happen is they'll just start pulling and they'll start using their back, which causes them to lose position. So I want you to make sure that you're learning to lock your back in better, keeping your back locked throughout the range of motion. Try some pause deadlifts and widen that grip so you can get your knees out and your back a little flatter. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys are still enjoying these videos, and we will see you next week. Leave a thumbs up. Take care.